Hello, Year 5, and welcome to the 10th history lesson out of a series of 10 about the Windrush generation and the theme of community. Make sure you've got pen and paper, and let's get ready to begin. Stop the video if you need to collect these things first. So on to today's lesson, and it's the final lesson in our series of 10. And so today we get the opportunity at looking at the impact that the Windrush generation truly had on the UK. And we can bring this full circle and back to our original theme of community. How do these link? Take a moment now to pause the video and to have a think about what we agreed or what we talked about in our first session about what community was and what we expected from it, and what we've learned about those people who came to England in the Windrush generation. I think it was quite easy, wasn't it, to see a lot of those links. These people have helped, they've problem solved with us, they've supported. We've seen in the videos a few lessons ago that they were the ones that wanted to kind of smile and say hello and welcome each other as we met in the streets and work hard and build a better society. And in being part of our community, they evolved the way we communicate and live and accept and built what our British values are today. On the forefront, we can see that it's many people's opinions that the Windrush generation changed Britain's social landscape forever. And it ultimately changed the UK arts scene forever because we had a new body of people with new interests and new backgrounds and new cultures and new ways of life that we learned from, we developed with, we incorporated into the makeup that makes the UK what it is now. To a point where we can look specifically at the music. Here's a statement below about music. The Jamaican influences also led to new genres of music like garage, jungle, and grime. So we know about genres being types and styles of music, so pop or reggae or ska or musicals, rock, classical. We've also got garage, jungle, and grime. Many of today's grime and garage artists, children of the Windrush generation. And this is very prevalent in today's charts. They also brought an explosion of jazz, blues, and gospel, and Latin and calypso onto the scene as well, at a time when London was all about swing and dance bands. And we looked at that in one of our earlier lessons as well. And hopefully you had the chance to listen to those styles of music. Over the next few slides, we're also going to be looking at a few graphs. So here comes the maths. And you can see this graph in particular is about unemployment. So the number of people who are unemployed and they do not have work. We've got on the y-axis here the percentage of unemployed people. And we can have a look at the dates down at the bottom in each year. And we're going back to the 1800s, so way before the time that we've been looking at. So I've helped to highlight that here. And it's really interesting, I think, to see how this graph develops. So we have towards the late teens, the 1917, 1980, that was where we got the ending of the First World War, and unemployment rates soar. It's a huge amount, and we struggle to recover from that. And we see a huge amount of unemployment again around 1933. There are other world factors going on here, the Great Depression. and the financial services. But again, this is just before the Second World War. And we can see after then, which is, I think, quite a poignant thing to note, that as we delve into the Second World War, actually the unemployment rates start to plummet. Suddenly everybody has a job. They're making armaments, they're sorting food rations, they're fighting. So whilst unemployment rates being low is good, maybe the reasons for it there, being the Second World War, maybe not so great. And then we come out of the Second World War, and we would almost expect this spike again that we had in 1917, around the early 1920s, at the end that we had at the end of the First World War. However, UK unemployment levels still remain fairly low. Whilst they're still going up and down, we still have a period from 1945 to 1973, the Windrush generation, where jobs are being filled and there are people for them, and there are much lower rates of people without a job. Looks good. Here's a second graph. This one is about debt. So by debt, we mean money that is owed to other people, other countries, okay, other companies as well. Okay, so if they pay for something for you, you have a debt to them. You owe them that money back. And this time the dates go from 1945, okay, so the Second World War, right the way through to 2013, so a little bit closer. And if we again highlight those Windrush years, we can see that with that unemployment rate being low, so more people in work and industries rebuilding themselves, people going back into the coal mines, the NHS being established properly across the UK, and the transport systems working, we're able to generate funds, so generate money that we can then use to pay back our debts. And we can see during the time of this Windrush era that debt amount has massively started to reduce. And we can see from here on in, it stayed fairly, it stayed lower. Can't say I know enough to say it's been particularly low, but possibly another positive thing. And then we've got this third graph, so economic growth. By economy, we're looking at industry and the money it's generating. And this is specifically in the 1960s, okay? So towards the end of the Windrush, what is considered the Windrush generation. And we can see that the funds, the economic growth is going up and up and up and up and up and up and up, which means more people are buying into our products, into our industry, into some of the systems that the UK has to offer, which is obviously helping with that debt that we're trying to pay off as well. Possibly another great thing. And we begin to think about what would these graphs look like if we hadn't had the Windrush generation, if they hadn't have made that journey over to the UK, if we were still struggling to build our cities, to build our economy, and to reduce that amount of debt. Where would this country be now? We can also think about things that we probably know a little bit more about. way back at the beginning of our journey, we could see the dire situation that the UK was in after the Second World War. All the way through the war, there had been rationing, where food had been divided out equally to various to families, and you weren't allowed more than your quota. It'd be like walking into the shop and the shopkeeper saying, "Sorry, you can't have that whole loaf of bread. You can only have half of it, and you're not allowed any more until the end of next week." It was difficult, and especially straight after the war, rationing seemed to be worse. And we can see that again, the food was quite simple: local produce, local fruit and veg. In the 50s, we started to get the arrival of the American diner, and burgers as well. Started to rise, and we get other establishments that do very similar cuisines. And by the 60s, when we've got this Windrush community and other migrants as well, seeing the opportunities that Britain has to offer, all bringing their cultures and their foods and their the things that they love to the forefront. And by the 60s and 70s, we see a real boom in restaurant life, and people going out to eat and trying different cuisines. Migrants have really changed the makeup of our country and opened our eyes to a world of other flavors, of other foods, of other ways of sharing time with family and friends as well. So your task today is a little bit different to our previous ones and isn't focused specifically on the Windrush. It is focused on our original theme that has run all the way through our lessons about community. And that is for you now to really understand your community and give you the time to research the history of it. Create your own timeline. What was your community like? What was your locality like 100 years ago? What kind of businesses, what kind of trades were around? Was it a particularly residential area? Were there many people living in that area? What events did it experience? And how did that change the way the community organized itself? Maybe go for a walk around your community. Have a look at the street names. Have a look at the names of different buildings. See if you can find out where those names came from. And as we looked at 2 lessons ago, things like the Windrush may have been celebrated in your area. Here are some other things you may want to research. What events have had an impact on your community? What nationalities, faiths, and groups make up your locality? How do you interact with your community? What do you do? Are there any groups or any meetings? How has your community come together in the last few months? And what are maybe some of the key locations or buildings or businesses around? Okay, researching your community can also be about looking at the geography of it, creating a map. Think about how you want to share this information. Could be a PowerPoint, could be or Google Slides, if that's what you're used to using. Could be a booklet. Make your own kind of history of your locality. It might actually be a video. You can film yourself walking around your locality. It might actually be a video. You can film yourself walking around your locality and talking about the things that you've learnt about its history. It may just be a fact file. Here's my locality. Here's the things that I found out about it. It's completely up to you. And it would be amazing if you were able to share your research with somebody in another community, maybe a family member that maybe doesn't live in the same area. Maybe they'll be able to share something about their community with you. The more we know about the world we live in and the community that we're a part of, I can guarantee you the more pride you'll have, and also the more respect you'll have about where you live and the people that live around you. And in doing so, increase your own sense of community and hopefully help to better the community that you're in. It's been a pleasure working with you all, and I wish you the very best of luck on your research projects. Take care. Bye-bye.